Hi. This is chronicling the Chronicle Sketchbook, the journey of this art project that became a product and went into the hands of many people. And today I am talking with Monique Rebecca from A Joyful Life slash Moken slash Thrive House.
Yeah,
Creative, creative extraordinaire, really powerful, magical woman, and actually the inspiration behind the very first Chronicles sketchbook. I was looking for a Christmas gift for Monique. Oh my gosh, it's Christmas time again. This is like almost 2 years
yeah.
exactly.
I have the
Um,
original one here, the one that you made for
and
me.
I wanted to make something special, and we both value journaling. And so I thought I would. And since then, Monique has become, I think, my top customer. She's definitely a journaling expert. And I wanted to talk to her about this product more from the point of view of just how she uses it in her journaling practice, and also any tips, for journaling that she wants to share with us. So, Monique, you say you chat enough, you have the floor. I don't even think I need to ask you any questions.
Oh God.
Take it
But
away.
you're not gonna ask me any questions though.
I'll ask you questions, but I'm sure you're fine.
Okay. Where do I start?
You said you had the first. How many do you have now?
I feel like I have 5, but I could only find 4.
Wow.
Well, I do have a smaller one. I have one of the ink pads. I think this is my latest one. And then I have this green one. No, that's not my latest one. It's this green one. This is my first one that you made.
Oh yeah, and I had to make it a little. I had to make it a little special for you because you couldn't have what everybody else have.
Yeah,
I remember that.
mine has magic here, magic Monique. And this is the last one that I got in August.
August? Yes.
No, I received it in September and it's done now. It's finished.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's
so
like 3 months.
I wrote a lot between September and now. Yeah, and then I have some other journals here. So like these are just my 3. These are 3 other journals. I have some others around the house. And I have been journaling since I was 12. I made a very conscious decision because I said that I wanted my children to know who I was when
you're planning your autobiography from your 12,
right.
basically.
So I said I wanted to know who I was. I decided on 2 things. I was gonna have a journal, and I was going to have a memorabilia box that I would put things in, and I still have the box to this day. I don't have my journals from when I was 12 because I actually threw them out 2 years ago because I was very sad when I wrote, and I was like, every time I read this I feel sad. That's them way. So
it's funny, I've done that too. I've cleared out journals.
Yeah, so these amongst others are just from the last 2 years, and this doesn't count the notes that are in my phone and then the voice notes that I make to myself, as well as the post-it notes that are on my wall here in my bedroom, and then my entire closet, which is made of mirror, is filled with notes.
Okay, so why do you journal now and take so many notes?
Okay, why do I journal now? I mean, I journal now as a way to process my feelings. I'm a type of person that sometimes I need co-regulation, so I need to speak to people to be able to manage and monitor my emotions, and there's not always a time to do that. I can't always talk to someone. So even though it's difficult for me to write when I'm in a heightened emotional state, is helpful for me to kind of get my thoughts out there and to think aloud. And that's why I write a lot of notes. Sometimes journal prompts come to me while I just lying down, and I will make a note in my phone, or I have different exercises that I do to kind of remind me of like what I want to do or like who I am. So right now I have a little writing exercise that I'm doing called One Thing I Learned About Me Today. And it's a running list in my phone, and every time some pop up and I was like, oh, that's a new thing I learned about myself. I write it down because it's really interesting to kind of pay attention to myself in that way. So for me, journaling is a way to get my thoughts out, process my feelings, probably say things that I wouldn't necessarily say to anybody else, hold myself accountable, plan my life, reflect on things. Sometimes I start seeing patterns and I'll reflect. It's also, I read my journals a lot. So I will go back and see where I was at maybe 2 years ago, 1 year ago. And I can start seeing themes. I start seeing themes of things that I'm working on. My journaling also had expanded into when I was blogging, because a lot of my blogs were also very personal. And I just think I'm at the core of who I am. I'm a writer, and I don't think I'll ever stop writing. I'm always writing something. So yeah.
I wanted to ask you something. You mentioned, well, two things. You mentioned the term co-regulation, which I don't think everybody might be familiar with. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then I have another question.
Sure. Right. So co-regulation, guys, I'm not like an expert in
a PTSD expert. No.
When emotional regulation is how we basically regulate our emotions. Like some people are super good at that. They don't get annoyed easily. They can stay really calm and level-headed. And then there are other people, like they get frazzled easy, they're overstimulated, and they cannot manage their emotions. Some people, they need other people to help them manage their emotions in the way of venting. So venting is a way that people co-regulate. They kind of, people, when they talk to people who can calm them down, it helps. Other people, they're really good at self-regulating. So they're all in their head. So they just think about it and then process it and then figure it out, and they never have to say a word to anybody. And then I think because I am the type of person who I'm very experiential, and there's so much going on inside my head, I actually have to hear it back to me for me to process the information, because otherwise it's very muddled.
And you also mentioned how difficult it can be to write when you're in a heightened emotional state. So how do you have that discipline to, what is there any techniques that you use to kind of...
I wouldn't call it discipline, honestly. As much as I journal, I do not have a journaling practice. I am now starting a journaling practice where I journal every morning, simply because it was intimidating, even as someone who writes a lot. So for me, what I found is that if I'm really, 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 really upset, I cannot write. I really genuinely cannot write. What I might do, which may be helpful, is like I might write a letter to the person. So I might write a note. Like I start opening a note on my phone. I usually cannot write when
I've done that.
Tight. My hand will hurt me. So I have to. So I'll write out a letter or write out what I want to say to the person. That usually helps. It's not necessarily like, I genuinely don't really write, oh, this is how I'm feeling today, or also, oh, I was thinking about this thing, or I had this idea, or I was processing this thing, and I had this epiphany. So it's really me kind of documenting some of the things I've realizations that I've had.
I can relate to that. Interestingly, it's so funny. I actually got disconnected from journaling, and for a while I felt like a hypocrite. I was like, how are you selling journals and you don't journal? But actually what I found was happening to me was I needed to allow myself to self-regulate a little bit more in my mind. And just be more with my feelings, because I think I was using journaling almost to justify things as opposed to actually explore things. And it's funny, like we have to be so aware of ourselves. Like
you do,
I was using it to be like, okay, I'm
very good at convincing yourself. You can be very good at convincing yourself that things that are not serving you are like perfect for you. Right?
Are you saying that to me specifically, or just people in general?
No, I am as in general, not you specifically. Like I do it all the time.
And so for a while, I literally told myself, I'm actually not going to journal. I'm not even going to talk to other people or whatever. I'm just going to learn to just sit with what I'm feeling before I try to analyze it. Just sit with what I'm feeling before I try to analyze it. Because one of the things I've been learning is our body does have a lot of intelligence. And if we limit the way we go about life to our mind, we really are limiting ourselves. Like there's stuff in our body, the chakras, the energy centers, the energy fields that can teach us stuff. Still learning. But I recently did restart. And like you, I don't have like a general everyday thing. It really was just my mentor suggested it to me. I was in a very dark, depressed place because 2020 has been very hard and just a lot of movement. Understatement of the year.
Yeah.
But my mentor said to me, you know, Cherise, all right, fine. You can't do anything. All I want you to do is write 3 pages in a journal for the day. That's your only task all day. Don't do anything else. You don't have a bed, you don't have to do nothing, right? And so that's how I started. I cheated. I actually did 2 pages and then 1 page of drawing because I just couldn't write that much. But it did start my engine going again where I realized, it did start my engine going again where I realized, I can use this as a way to process my thoughts once I've actually sat with them. And so now, like you, it's more like it just pours out when it pours out. This morning alone, I know it's because it's the winter solstice and whole heap of things are going in the sky. I woke up at 15 minutes to midnight, right? Yeah. And I think I wrote 15 pages. Just like processing.
Yeah, I did write this morning. My thoughts were a lot clearer in writing this morning, but I have taken many breaks from journaling, you know, just not journaling for long periods of time. For me, when I'm incredibly sad, I can't actually write. But you're talking about drawing. I've also found, you know, because you know these, right? So I also use my journals as a different form of therapy. So I've always been doing this from I was younger. And then I started doing them large formats. Just as
I love that so much.
When I can't write, I will just turn on some music and I just do it. Like there's no plan as to what it's gonna look like, but it's really a good therapeutic certain things. So even if I can't actually write how I'm feeling in words, allow my, you know, just to be guided by how I move my hand and those type of things. That's really helpful as well. I mean, 2020, you're right. 2020 is has been an interesting year, and we'll explain why it took me 3 months to go through. Less than a month to no, this didn't even finish November. This finished in November. So it took me less than 2 months to finish a whole journal. That has never happened to me before. And it's just really all of the energies that are happening. And I think even within or who we are as women, particularly and the age that we're at, we're coming a lot into ourselves as well. And that comes with a lot of questions and a lot of processing and a lot of things that you realize, like I'm responsible for myself. So like there's nobody nobody's giving me So if I want it, me I forgot get it. Okay, cool. And that has been something I've been working through. Just realization that I am fully responsible for the life that I'm designing, and there's nobody who I should be getting a permission from, not partner, not woman.
Which is also liberating, right?
It is
and it's a freedom that
it's also something that, you know, you're kind of parenting yourself.
Exactly. And I can think of being balanced.
I find it's really good to write these things down, because sometimes you forget, honestly, because you think that you learn a lesson and you learn it and you just, okay, cool. But you don't really learn it until you put it in practice over and over again. So sometimes it may come to you and maybe it don't come to you again for another 6 months. And then maybe it's 2 years down the line that you actually know mastery, right? So it's not just awareness, not just the awareness of where you need to work on or something is going to just magically change it. And being able to kind of even see your growth over time with the journaling is really powerful. Because you can even give yourself more grace, because you can really see where you're coming from. I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to work and I have come a long way. You know, I used to read some of my journals when I was 12 and 13, and I was like, ew, who is this girl?
I remember I remember when I threw out a whole set of journals that were related to actually my Christian life because I realized, okay, all of this stuff was very tainted by the doctrine that I was fed, you know, like it doesn't represent what I'm doing. But I also do like the feeling of when you do have a journal. So there are journals that I know I'm not gonna throw them out until or unless I change. Like even if I don't go back to read them, just them in that physical representation is like, okay, yeah, this is, you know, parts of myself that I want to nurture. I want to ask you one last thing because I think we can start wrapping up. But if there is someone who never ever write a thing in their life or is having trouble right now and is wanting to experiment with this idea of journaling as co-regulation, how do you have any suggestions, maybe prompts, exercises, or whatever about like just how to start?
One really good, powerful prompt that I've been using is, what do I need today? And writing down 3 things that you need. You need, not I need to pay this bill. It could be I need to pay this bill, but it's I need to pay this bill so I can have a peace of mind of it being off my plate, right? That has been really helpful for me in terms of a journaling practice. I think it's super cliche too, but I'm gonna say gratitude lists. That's a really good way to start off a day if you've never journaled before. And also, I think it's really important not to like constrict it to something. You know, I have a lot of journals, but I also have a lot of notes in my phone. I have voice notes that I said to myself. So it really just depends on what feels good to you in the moment. That's always helpful. So if you're intimidated by writing, you can, do a voice note to yourself. You can draw, you can do like coloring pages. Like some of us, like I'm a words person, so that's how I process things. And I think another thing I would suggest in terms of getting started is just not like approaching it from a sense of non-judgment. My first journals, I mean, I was just
That's
like
critical.
a teen. I did not write in complete sentences. I really didn't. I really sounds like, where are the full stops? Like, what's going on here? I was just writing how I felt, and I didn't care like about grammar or anything like that. I'm just kind of getting it out there. It's just for me. And I think those are really helpful tips. As well as, if I can do a shameless plug, is that allowed?
Of course.
So I just launched a morning, like it's called the Grand Rising. I'm still getting used to the name. It's called the Grand Rising. It's a soul care guide to a joyful morning routine. And in it, I'm going to be talking about or sharing this really cool template for my morning journaling, because I've been structuring it, because I said that I've been doing it a lot more lately. I'm going to be sharing some like worksheets on how that happens. I might also share it on my Instagram. I'm not sure, but I mean.
And what is the Instagram?
She's Joyful. That is my Instagram handle. Joyful with 2 L's at the end. And you'll see there. But yeah, those are really good. And there are also some self-love prompts as well. I think I did 20 prompts that are on my Instagram page. They're on some pink posts. Those are also really good guides if you want to kind of focus on self-love in the morning. There are just simple questions that you can ask yourself and kind of journal out. So yeah.
Monique, you always inspire me, Jano. Like, you are just like,
thank you.
Such an inspiration, such a glow. You go after what you want. You have a heart for sharing what's valuable and like inspired. Seriously. Thank you so much for talking with us. Yeah.
Thanks for facilitating. I think I have to get like 2 more, right? Before they're gone.
Before they're gone. 2020, another, side effect of 2020. But I also can't help but feel, maybe it was just a project for a moment, and sometimes that's what happens.
I will say, share that getting these journals or getting this journal as a gift was a catalyst of restarting my kind of relationship with journaling.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't really journaling as much until I got this, because honestly, I also really like pretty books. And because it's so pretty, like I wanted to write in it. And I remember telling you that everything that I wrote in this book, I manifested this magic.
Yeah.
And I was flipping through earlier and I saw this love note that you left for me. Yes, it said, "I love you, Cherise." P.S. I didn't read your stuff. I remember I found that it was such a nice surprise.
I didn't read it, I promise. I really didn't.
I trust you. I didn't think you did.
But yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. That's sweet to know. All right. Thanks.